Well, guess what, everybody? It's finally time. We got Halo Flashpoint, the big boy edition, with all of the extra cool stuff. Now, I know I got a Master Chief with this. I think he's actually in this box, which is pretty cool. I guess they just packed it in with the set, but let's go ahead and dig into this guy. I haven't even opened it yet. Alright, so just like with the other set, we got a little ad for some other Magic games, which is cool. We've got, I guess, the instructions for the terrain. Now, this terrain is the same, but there's one extra building, I guess? Yeah, this double-tiered building didn't come in the Recon Edition. So I'll be curious to check that out. I think that'll add something interesting to the board layout. As far as I know, this is the same exact rule book. Yeah, nothing in here looks any different, so not much to say about that. The mat, I believe this is the same one as well that came in the Recon Edition. So it's got the kind of little reference sheets or reference pictures around the outside, which is actually very handy when you're doing demo games. And then on the other side, you got a normal 2x2. But fancy. Okay, so this is a more traditional, like, board game board. It feels it's pretty thick cardboard, and it's got this sort of double fold in the middle. Pretty cool. I like the colors. The print quality looks pretty nice as well. I don't know how much that comes through on the camera, but it looks pretty good. Other side, similar to the paper mat, but this is going to be much nicer. It's also going to probably be a lot easier to record on this because it's not as going to be as reflective, which is nice. Yeah, that's kind of awesome. I'll be excited to try playing on an even bigger map, especially now that we got more models to mess with. But let's keep going here. So we got a big chunk of the terrain, and yeah, so this is actually the double-decker building, which is cool. I wonder if it's all the same tokens. I'm not going to compare that now, but off camera I'll go look and see if all the tokens are exactly the same. Alright, what do we have here? So, that's it. There he is, the big man. Master Chief. Interestingly, I actually saw the cards for him on the internet a couple days ago, and he's a melee only loadout. I think he's got grenades, but otherwise just melee. Also interesting that it's kind of like this greenish gray plastic instead of the red or the blue, although I guess this is the same color the elites come in, which is nice. A little connection spot on the sword and on the base. He looks good though. You can see similar quality level to the other models. I've heard some people kind of with both extreme takes, saying that they're gorgeous, saying that they're crap. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, as someone who has a lot of miniatures and likes to look at them. I think they're much nicer than you get in most board games. I think they're not quite up to like a fancy tabletop war game standard, but I certainly can't complain, and they were fun to paint. So this one, interestingly, actually has a textured base, which is funny because none of the other ones did. It looks like there's like little hexagons on the ground with a pattern and then some dirt. I guess maybe it's like a Forerunner installation or something like that. I don't know if you can actually see that well, but interesting that they did that for him and not for anyone else, I guess, because this is like a special edition. I presumably there'll be a normal release Master Chief down the road. I don't know if it'll be different, but Maybe this is just something they're doing for special or for characters or whatever it might happen to be. I know there's a version of Master Chief that comes in the paint set, and I think it's the same one as this, but drop a comment below and let me know if you know differently. I didn't pick up the paint set because I have too much paint as it is, and I knew I was getting him this way, but I'll be curious if they're any different. Oh, this is cool. So some flags for capture the flag. Yeah, of course you need that. This one's a little bendy, it looks like, but I can fix that with some hot water, so no big deal. We got 2 of those. And then what do we got in here? Oh, interesting. Some 3D terrain elements. I don't know if these are, I don't think these are for objective game types. I think these are just for funsies. What is this? It's like a door? Huh. I don't know what this is. It looks like a bulkhead, or maybe it's supposed to go on the ground? I don't know. Weird. You get a couple of them with some crates. I like crates. Good for basing material, good for decorating the table a little bit. Some little hatches. I think maybe these are to go on the terrain, because I know they're selling a terrain set, which I'm getting, but I don't have yet because I ordered it from somewhere else, and it hasn't even shipped yet, actually. So I wonder if these are meant to sort of decorate that terrain and make it look a little bit more Halo-y. And an oddball. Very cool. I didn't realize it was going to come with this stuff. This is a bit of a surprise. I don't know if this is normal for the Spartan Edition or if this is a pre-order exclusive like Mr. John here. It's in the same section of the box. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. I kind of suspect that he was the only pre-order exclusive. I guess I didn't read very carefully when I put my pre-order in. I just clicked the buy button. It was during Adepticon, in my defense, so I was a little busy, but you know. Well, that's quite a few models. Way different than Recon. Let's take a gander. A nice little Needler. Needlers are very big. It's kind of deceiving when you're playing the video game. These are Spartan 4, so they're a little smaller than Chief, but that is a big old gun. So we got, the 2 of the same squads we have in Recon, so I'll have 4 of those, which is cool. And then these guys are actually the same, like, position, the same unit type, but with different weapon loadouts. So I think this is the marksman, so he's got I think it's a Covenant weapon, I don't remember the names, instead of like a DMR. Who else is new? A lot of Forerunner weapons. I recognize this one at least. I don't remember what that's called either. I think it's like the shotgun equivalent from the Forerunners. Nope, we know that guy already. Here we go. I think that's a plasma carbine? I don't know. I'm saying these things. They're going to be written on the card, so I can just go look at them. But let's get down to the real business here. If you're enjoying this video and you want to support the channel, then there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. The first would be to pick up some merchandise through my merch store. You can grab a t-shirt, a hoodie, a mug, a sticker, all sorts of cool stuff like that. You can also shop using my affiliate links, so if you're going to make any purchases from any of these companies, you can use the links in the description below to make your purchases, and it will go directly to supporting the channel at no extra cost to you. There's also a link for my Ko-fi if you would just like to give me a tip, or my Patreon if you want to support me longer term. I have a bunch of different tiers there, and there are all sorts of benefits available to people, such as early access to videos, ad-free videos, the opportunity to vote in polls about upcoming content, and extra entries into the giveaways that I run occasionally. But if none of that is your cup of tea, no problem at all. Just make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and leave a like on the video. It actually helps a tremendous amount. And if you want to go the extra mile, then consider sharing the video out with some friends who you think might find it interesting. The YouTube algorithm is not kind to small YouTubers, so that helps a whole bunch. Other than that, consider joining the Discord, also linked in the description, where you can come and hang out with me and the rest of the community and talk games. But with that, let's get right back to the video. The Elites. Oh, wow. Okay, so these guys are big. That's about right. I think Sangheili in the lore are like 8 feet tall-ish. And they have the plantigrade legs, so they're probably actually a little bit taller if they stand up all the way. But yeah, you can see they kind of dwarf the Spartans. Let's do a side by side with Chief. Yeah, Chief's big. He's a big old boy, but an Elite's still bigger than Chief, which makes sense. These look good. I like them. I think the size, the details look a little bit deeper on the model, and that might be just because of the fact that they are bigger. Still not like you might see in a multi-part plastic kit from Games Workshop or Weird or something like that, but very nice. The needles are a little funny shaped, which is weird. I guess that's just how the plastic gets molded, but they should kind of be more cylinders. They're like pyramids, triangle shaped. But overall looks good. We got one with a plasma rifle, or a plasma carbine, I think they call those. Plasma rifles are the old ones. I gotta look at what version of their armor this is. I think this is from the later games. I'm not great about recognizing the armor, but I think this is what we see in the later games. It doesn't look like the old school ones. The armor changed a lot, even within the Bungie games. So, and who do we have here? Okay, so we have a broken finger, which is unfortunate. I can fix that though. That's not a problem. And there's a normal plasma rifle. That's what I was thinking of. He's kind of crouched down a lot more than not a lot more, I guess. And then we got the Sword Elite. You always have to have a Sword Elite. Bane of my existence in the video games. But I'm pretty excited to use them in the game. Being able to start with a sword is going to be pretty dope. You can pretty consistently get a one-shot kill with a sword in this game if things go in your favor, even just a little bit. Yeah, you can see like the detail in the neck and like this combat harness. It's pretty crisp. You know, again, not perfect, not spectacular, but it looks nice. And even some of the armor panels on the back, you can see that they're kind of cut a little bit deeper. And again, I think it's really just the size. I think it's the scaling. The fact they're bigger means that they can go in with more depth. But again, for single piece miniatures that are just, they come like this, I'm honestly impressed. I have a lot of board games that come with single piece models like this, and or like RPG minis and stuff like that, and they're never, I would say, I don't think I've seen any that are as nice as these, so I'm pretty happy with them. I will say I did a recent interview with Ronnie from Mantic, and he mentioned, just in kind of an offhand comment, I actually considered asking him this, but I thought it was a little too far left field, but he mentioned that they might do premium miniatures down the road, so like resin versions of some of the models that we already have, just to have like a nicer quality mini, which I would be all for. I think that would be really dope. So some special dice. I saw these going around the internet. People seem to be very fond of them. Pretty cool. I like them. They're different than the ones in the Recon. The Recon are blue, and I think they have white ink, whereas these are kind of like a marbly with blue. Kind of dope. I like it. It'll be good to have extras of these too. Our regular dice, nothing special. Item cards, I think these are all the same as well, so we'll skip those for now, but these are some of the things that we want to take a look at. So heard a lot of people on the Discords and stuff talking about Chief. For the time being, he's just going to count as 2 models. Eventually there'll be list building rules. That's coming like early next year. But for right now, he's just going to be effectively 2 models. So you'd expect him to be quite the beefy boy for that. So first off, energy shield 3, so that's 1 more than a typical Spartan has. 5 health, which is 1 more than a typical Spartan. Same armor, but he's got 3 ups on all of his stats, which is pretty dope. He's going to be hitting real hard. 2-3 walk is about what you'd expect. It's similar to the other standard Spartans. Interestingly, the range attack isn't going to matter because he doesn't have a ranged weapon, but I guess he could pick one up, so that would be relevant. Comes out of the box with an energy sword, which is pretty good. AP3, ESD2, lethal 1. So what you're seeing there is if he hits another Spartan, for example, ESD2 means even if they're at full health, they go down to no shields. AP3 means you ignore their armor. You really only, and then lethal 1 means you get an extra point of damage in, so you only need 3 successes against a Spartan, and they one-shot. That's pretty great. That's pretty brutal, because you're automatically wiping out the shields, you're ignoring all of their armor +1, and you're doing an extra point of damage on whatever you hit. So you only have to hit them for 3 damage. They take a 4th, done. From full health. So, pretty brutal. I gotta look up what lunges. I'm assuming this lets you kind of go an extra, you know, just like it sounds, and like you might expect from the games, this lets you jump to another space and do some melee. Interesting that that's only ESD1 and not lethal, but I wonder if lunge gives you something extra. Maybe it makes you more accurate or something like that. I'll have to check the rules for that. Tactician 3, that's pretty big. There's another model that gives you Tactician. It lets you get some extra command dice. It lets you get rerolls, keep dice over the next turn. So that's pretty huge, because I think they only have Tactician 1. So Tactician 3 is going to be a lot of extra command dice, which means potentially extra melee attacks, extra movement, all that stuff. And then Stoic, I don't remember what that is either, so I'll have to check that. But got some art and some flavor text on the back, but this is one-man army. To represent the extraordinary abilities of the Master Chief at the start of the Master Chief's activation, you may use a special order result to allow the use of any number of advanced fight or shoot command dice results during that activation. So I guess this just means you can use multiple instances of the same die, where normally during the same activation you wouldn't be able to. So for example, if you had 2 melee dice, you'd only be able to use 1 to get an extra attack. This lets you get an additional extra attack if you have it, but you have to discard another dice. I think I'm reading that right. So for, let's say you had a reroll die, an extra die, you could discard that to then use 2 extra melee attack dice. I forget what they're actually called, but Chief may also use the snapshot special order. That's the sort of Overwatch that that the other Spartans get. Master Chief may be taken in place of 2 other Spartans when drafting your fire teams. Yeah, so I mentioned that already. Yeah, so you know, it'll be tough to decide whether you want to take him or 2 regular Spartans, because that's, you know, him counting for 2 is kind of a big deal. But he definitely has a lot of tricks, and he's going to be rolling pretty great. I mean, a 3-up save means he's going to be real hard to put down, especially with an extra point of health and an extra energy shield. So he's going to be a real threat, like you'd expect him to. But let's check out some of the guys that might be fighting him. So Mark IV, and these are the regular loadouts we already know about. Brawler, Zvezda, Deadeye. So those are all the boring ones. We don't care about those. We already know those. So Mark IV with a pulse carbine, range 4, AP1, ESD1, weight of fire. It's not too much different, to be honest. Brawler with a needler, range 3, lethal 1, rapid fire, weight of fire. That's I feel like the needler should have more special rules than that. What about like a super combine explosion? That's what I want. It should be like, I guess that's lethal 1 is representing that. It should be like lethal 2 maybe, or like some special rule where if you do 2 damage it does 4 or something. I don't know. Zvezda with cinder shot, ESD1, grenade, implosion, and lethal. Implosion 5. I don't remember what that does. I remember the explosion rules. There's a lot of different ones depending on the kind of weapon you have. And they can do all sorts of crazy shenanigans. They're pretty fun. And then Spartan Deadeye with the Stalker Rifle, which is just sniper scope. AP1, range 6. So that's pretty cool. They're not too different, I feel, compared to the I don't feel like the weapon loadouts make a giant difference. They're going to be a little bit, you know, slightly different stats, but nothing dramatic, which I guess is probably what they were going for. There'll be more variety in other ways. So, Sangheili Mercenary. So that makes sense because these guys are part of the Banished, and the Banished are primarily Jarlhane, the Bruce, but they also work with elites. but they're not in as a prominent role as they were in the Covenant. So these guys are mercenaries. Interesting. So shield 3 instead of shield 2 on a standard Spartan. Armor 1 instead of armor 2. So 1 higher shield, but 1 lower armor, which is interesting. You know, that makes sense in terms of how we see them in the video games. It does seem like it'll make them a little bit, because of the way the rolls work in this, it does seem like it's going to make them a little easier to kill. Plus 3 health. Yeah, once you get through those shields, they're going to go down pretty quick. That's interesting. Because the shields go away quicker, you just have to roll successes. You don't have to beat like a certain threshold. And there's a lot of ESD going around, which gets rid of them faster. But then armor, I found, really helps a lot, because if you're just rolling 2 successes, it's just bouncing off. You know, the Spartans, it bounces off their armor left and right. I've tanked lots of hits that way, but these guys are gonna only be tanking them on 1s. I feel like that's gonna mean they're not quite as hardy. Interesting. So this is the one with the energy sword. So similar, ESD 2, lethal 1, and it's also got lunge. And then these guys have grenades. So actually, I guess Chief doesn't have a grenade, but the elite with the sword has a grenade, which is cool. 1 use and sticky. I gotta look up what sticky means. That's funny. Makes sense though. So interesting. They're all called Sing Healing Mercenary. They're all the same, like, archetype. They just have different loadouts, which is an interesting way to do it. So similar stuff. We have a plasma grenade and we have a needler. Lethal rapid fire, rate of fire. Energy dagger, smash 1. That's another one I gotta look up. Their melees are not gonna be as good as a Spartan's melee, which is interesting. It's only AP 1, no ESD, unless smash 1 does something wild. So also with the grenade, I guess the grenade maybe makes up for the fact that they're not as good in melee, which is cool. I like that they already feel, without even playing them yet, they feel like they'll play quite differently than the Spartans, which is what you want. Plasma rifle, continuous fire, SD1, long and rapid fire. And then we got the plasma carbine, ESD1, weighted fire 1. Spartan special order, we already know. Snapshot. Okay, this is the one that I think is maybe the most interesting. Special order. So this is what happens when you roll on the command dice, when you roll the funny little symbol. What's your special order? After an activation by either player, the special order command dice result may be spent to remove the activation token from a friendly Sing Healing Mercenary that is off the board due to being killed but not yet respawned. This means the controlling player can and must take a turn to activate the model before the end of the current round. So that's really interesting. That basically means that if you get killed and you've already activated, you can double activate that model in the turn. And I feel, so that's interesting for a couple of reasons. One is obviously it gets you an extra go, and these guys kind of seem like they lean a little bit more on the offensive side compared to the defensive side, compared to the Spartans. But also it's going to change the way your opponent plays, because they don't want to kill any of your activated models, because then you just won't be able to use your dice. You won't be able to use that ability. So that's interesting. I had a lot of instances come up in my games already where that would have come in handy quite a bit. So I'll be really curious to see how that actually plays out in a game. Yeah, the rest of this I think we already know. So that's kind of it. I'm super excited. I'm really excited to get some paint on these guys. I'm excited to see what I can do with those elites. I don't know how I'm going to paint them. They have like very metallic looking armor, which is always challenging to paint. So I'm excited to have a crack at it, and also to do up the rest of my guys. I don't know what kind of paint scheme I want to do. I don't think I want to stick to the just red versus blue, but I want to find a way to make it obvious to someone who I might be giving a demo to who's on which team. So like, I think I might do their basing schemes different so that you can tell which side they're on if I do a bunch of models that are just like funny colors, like you see in multiplayer. So that might be the plan. It'll be interesting, but let me know what you think. I'm excited to get some more games of this in. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to play it as much as I've wanted to because of a variety of reasons, and been busy with all kinds of stuff, but I'm definitely excited about the game. If you didn't watch the interview that I did with Ronnie a couple of weeks ago, you definitely want to go catch that. It is really well worth listening to. The audio is a little bit funny, but you should be able to understand everything. And Ronnie actually tells me about some interesting stuff that's coming down the road. And there was talk about vehicles, and there was talk about, it seems like Atriox is probably confirmed, and a couple other little tidbits. So if you didn't watch that, which not a lot of people did, I highly recommend, go check it out. Really interesting conversation. Ronnie's a really cool guy. He's obviously very passionate about this game, which makes me even more excited. So that's all I got for you for right now. I want to send a huge thank you to the extremely cool kids tier on Patreon, the Steam Powered Scoundrels, Dogmatized, and Devin. And thanks for watching.